Hello and welcome to the Emmanuel podcast where we talk things God, tech, life. Today we are talking about starting small, how breaking tasks into smaller parts can help you overcome procrastination and get more things done. Plus, I'll be sharing a bonus tip about how starting earlier can make all the difference. There was a time when I used to procrastinate a lot. I'll leave things down to the last moment, let's say I have tasks to do, assignment to do, I'll leave it and then try to attend to it one night before. And then I started to realize that, okay, this is really overwhelming. Catching up is overwhelming. And I started to look for ways to get over this. And I'm the kind of person that whenever I have bugging questions or confusions about stuff, I ask people. I try to make research. People close to me that have heard me ask questions like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on that? Sometimes I even know the answer. I just want to hear their part and see, okay, maybe at the end of the day, theirs will be more concrete than mine, and I'll have to stick to theirs instead and stuff like that. So I started to make research, ask questions, and then at some point, I decided that, I will start small, start simple, one step at a time. And one thing about we humans is that, let me try to use a case scenario now, where someone is the kind of person that whenever tasks come for him to do or her to do, they kind of push it aside, don't start it. And then what that causes in the long run is that they lose trust in themselves. When they should do stuff, they not feel like, I didn't start the last time. I may not even start it this time. And then over time, they become master procrastinators. So what I decided to do was start small, started focusing on the smaller tasks, decided that, okay, there are some things that I must get done every day, even though I don't get everything done. There are just some things that I must do. I started with simple things like I must lay my bed every day, every morning after I wake up and I get out of bed. I must lay my bed. I must drink water when I get up in the morning. There are little things like that. I must do my Duolingo every day. There was a time I was keeping up with my programming streak. I must program something meaningful and commit it daily. Though I've not been keeping up with that, especially since I had issue with my laptop. But then I started to put little things together. Okay, I must do this every day. During the holiday, one of the things I was doing was I must practice keyboard every day. But now I'm back to school, there's not that much time to spare. But then I was doing it. So, I started to put down these little things. And then I realized that it was easier for me to do more things. To start things, because I already started a lot of things. I remember one of the people I look up to, she runs a podcast, Okigbo, and her podcast is Gist with Memes. You can check it out, very wonderful stuff. And then I was watching her on Instagram where she said, starting stuff is like a muscle. The more you start them, the easier it is for you to start more. I look at people like Pastor Iren and other great men. They are doing a number of things. And at the end of the day, you realize that these are people that are not afraid to start things because they've trained themselves to start things. And by that way, they are less prone to procrastination. Think of it like climbing a stairs. One step at a time gets you there faster than trying to leap to the top. Like I said, I started to put little things together, started to take them one at a time, step by step, instead of looking at the whole picture. I remember one of the psychologists I used to follow a lot. He said something that many people don't start stuff because of how big it is in their mind. Like they look at it and they're like, wow, their starting standard is so high that it's so hard to start. At the end of the day, you just have to really look at those tasks and break them down and start small. Even as little as sometimes, let's say the place I stay now in school, whenever I go to my room, I'm on a high floor. I'm on like second floor, although we call it like 300th floor here. Normally it's ground first, second, but here is 1, 2, 3. So I'm on 300th floor, and then whenever I want to climb up, I look at it and I'm like, I don't think about it. I just start climbing one step at a time, and I eventually get there. Because I know that if I stand and start looking at it and start saying, okay, this place is far, like after my day stress and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about it too much, I probably wouldn't climb it. So the best thing for me at that time is to not just think about it and just start climbing the stairs, knowing fully well that I'll get to my destination successfully. I suggest you create little to-do lists with small steps. Instead of saying things like I will write a blog post today, you can start by saying, okay, I'll brainstorm ideas, then I'll write the intro, then I'll do the this and the that. Break it down into smaller and smaller steps. And then for the bonus point I talked about. Yes. So when you start things earlier, you give yourself a buffer to adjust if things don't go as planned. It also frees up your mind to think creatively. Like me, for example, at the time I was trying to overcome the thing so-called procrastination, I remember clearly one of my mentors told me, he said, one of the best ways to not procrastinate is to start earlier. And I remember I attended a meeting and a great man there also spoke and said literally the same thing. Okay, and I decided that, I will start with my holiday list. So before I went home, I took down a pen, a paper, and I wrote down the things I needed for the next time would resume. Yeah. And then I realized that unlike other holidays, I didn't get to situations where I would now have to start thinking, oh, I've not done this, I've not written this in my list, and then, oh, what am I missing? And I don't know, and I'm so confused. But the fact that I wrote it in school meant that I had more time to reflect and see, okay, this is what I'm missing, that is what I'm missing, and then I was able to put them earlier. And even if I didn't remember everything, on getting home, I didn't face that much of stress trying to find out what I'm missing and stuff like that. Everything was just more seamless than it ever was. And I'm even sure that if I look back now, I didn't miss anything on that list, anything at all that I needed on that list. But so many other holidays I've missed stuff, one or two things, I'll just miss them. And whenever I'm resuming school, the way I pack my stuff is I pack them earlier, especially this holiday. I packed much earlier than the others. And what that meant was that I remember the things I should carry, although I later forgot something. We're not perfect, but then I think this is the least amount of stuff I've ever forgotten. And it was only one thing I forgot, and then it's something I can literally do without. So take for example, exams are coming, and then you look at, okay, what's to come. You know that once exam comes, time for you to catch up on what you've been missing won't be much. Why don't you start by, okay, long before the exam, you start revising, you start going through your stuff, you start going through the things you need to go through. Maybe you write down the topics in a paper and start checking them little by little, completing it one at a time. That way you don't get to exam period and now get confused and overwhelmed and trying to catch up, and then the results are out and now you are disappointed yourself. So instead of embarking on that part, why don't you start small and start earlier? And that way you overcome procrastination and the side effects of procrastination. So remember, start small by breaking tasks into manageable pieces and start early to give yourself a head start. This week I challenge you to pick up one task you've been procrastinating and break it into smaller steps, or better yet, start on it today. Yes, today. So thank you so much for tuning in. If this episode helped you, don't forget to share it with someone who needs it. Yes, share it with somebody. That person that used to procrastinate and overthink things and then probably doesn't do them. Share it to the person. And as you go through this week, remember that even the smallest step forward is still progress. Take it one day at a time and trust the process. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Emmanuel podcast.